Welcome in, everybody. Tuesday night live here with Divots and Pivots. We are getting ready for the Open Championship, the final major of the season. The major is what all of us golf nerds look forward to. It's like Christmas here today. So we're heading back over to Europe across the pond for the early morning tee time. So get ready, get your lineup set, and we're here to help you out. But as always, as the lights go crazy in the room, it's all good. We're ready to bring you a show. We're ready to bring you the information that you need to crush the weekend. And as always, to help me do that, Bud Copeland is here with me. This Bud's for you. And Bud, welcome. Good to see you as always. How are you? As he freezes right on cue. Golly, what is going on with that? It's going to be another one of these shows. I don't know if you were watching us from the beginning. Oh, here he is. You back now? Are you good? You got so excited you tripped over the cord for the internet? He's still not back. This is good. Okay. If you were with us early on in the show, I think it was like episode 2, 3 or something like that, we ran into some internet issues with Bud. It looks like he's coming through clear now. Maybe.
I don't know what happened. I don't know what to do with my hands. So if you're on the podcast, if you're sitting there listening, thanks for vamping there, Andrew. I'm super excited, and I think the energy just shot right through and knocked me out. No, I have no idea what happened, but it's fantastic. It's the Open week, the Open Championship. I saw something earlier that in the stands when I was watching some Golf Channel coverage, and it said on a big banner, it all leads to this. Yes. And it kind of gave me all the feels, all the goosebumps, because you stop, you pause, you start thinking about the history of the game. And this is the 150th Open, but the game's been around for way longer than that. And I even heard a story earlier about there being a burial ground that was a cholera pit that's on St. Andrews. That I was like, what? I was like, what is this about? So I mean, there's layers to this place. It goes way back, and I think it's kind of I don't know if it's ironic or just poetic justice that things seem to be coming to a head with Liv. And finally, some of the big guys, metaphorically, physically, mythically, I'm not going to say stepped up. They said what they said, some things that they needed to say or wanted to say. And
they came to the plate wearing the uniform they wanted. That's what they did.
Shit, the uniform they built, they created out of. So quick pause. If you're kind of like, what the hell are they babbling on about? Tiger Woods in his press conference. Now, couple things happened this week. On Monday, it was so much fun. I don't know if you watched any of the former champions kind of champions challenge. They paired up all these past champions of either Open Championships or British amateurs. I don't know if they call it the British amateur, or just I think it's how it's the Open. I think it's just the amateur. So I think you have like amateur champions, Open champions, women's, men's, senior. It was fantastic to see them all out there, kind of having fun. Played 1, 2, 17, and 18. And strikingly absent from the week are Greg Norman and Phil Mickelson, past champions. They weren't at the past champions dinner. Greg was, they came out. RNA said, this isn't a place for you to stop by in this time and this date. And I think that's shots fired. Phil can say
100% shots fired.
Right. Phil could say he voluntarily withdrew, but I mean, I think it was kind of the writing on the wall kind of thing. But I think that's the first shots fired in all of this, because I don't think that they're going to get Liv is going to get the recognition they need to survive in the manner which they foresee. And with Jack and Tiger saying their piece this week a little bit about it, and a little bit more so than just like, hey, this thing's happening. And, I mean, it's, the game's big enough for all of us. They're flat out saying, like, I don't really get it. I mean, Jack Nicklaus was flat out saying Greg's a friend, but we don't see eye to eye on this one. And there is a little bit of crowing, and it's funny because I think you alluded to it before the show, and there's a little bit of crowing about some parallels between the beginning of the PGA Tour and what's going on right now. And that is the stuff that's getting under my skin, and people trying to drag what happened back in the day with Arnie and Jack and those guys and what they were able to kind of create. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I think it's very, if you really pay attention to what the PGA has been putting out over the last week leading up to the Open here, I don't think it's by mistake that we're all of a sudden seeing some more lighthearted, fun, kind of candid moments from some of the bigger names in golf, like Tiger, like Rory. Like in these days leading up to the tournament, they're putting out more on social media this week, them goofing around together on the putting green, or them, having fun out on a practice rounds. Like they tend to be, PGA seems to be purposely putting that more in the forefront, almost to say like, see, look, we can be fun too. Like our guys are having fun out here. We don't need a big, expensive, fancy new format to have fun on the PGA Tour.
Oh, you nailed it. In whether or not Liv was around, it just gave them a little more inspiration to do this, because what we're watching, again, it goes back to it's what's on the banner behind the 18th green and the first tee. And it'll say, you'll see it in the coverage. It all leads to this. I watched John Daly come up and say hi to Tiger. You see Lee Trevino giving tips to, I think it's Brian Harmon. In that camaraderie, what you're talking about, there's a quasi militaristic brotherhood in that they've grinded to get where they were, and that's why I want to kind of just touch on Tiger's comments earlier today or yesterday, depending on when you're listening to this and tuning in. But and he was talking about some of the younger players, and he almost feels bad for them because they don't. It's almost like you're ignorant is a tough word, but
that's always got a negative connotation to it.
It does, but I mean, it's the most appropriate term of just lack of knowledge, lack of experience, lack of context, lack of any of that kind of wisdom or again, knowledge to make a wiser decision. He says, quote, I think that, what they've done is they've turned their back on what has allowed them to get in this position. And to me, what he's saying is, I get that you're jumping over at all that money, but do you understand that the only reason that money over there exists is because of what we did over here?
Oh,
And the fact that some of these amateur guys are going straight over there, he's saying, you don't get it. You really might be shutting the door on any chance to play in a major, because if you don't get official world golf rankings, the tours have already said your status, and then the majors are already saying that's how you have to get here. So you're done there. And then he leaned into, this is what I loved about him. I mean, Tiger said his entire recovery, he skipped the US Open so he could make this 150th at St. Andrews. He's won here. Jack's won here. You hear the guys talk about, it's like the holy grail to win at St. Andrews, to win any major is a great achievement. But
on that course specifically, it goes beyond the fact that it's a major. It's about the course itself as well.
Exactly. And so Tiger talking about, he was in that crash, and people think that he was eyeballing a Masters return. And really, this is the tournament that he had his flag planted in. His team, this is where they needed to get. The Masters was nice. Being able to play in the PGA was a bonus. He knew he was pushing it if he went to the US Open. And so he put it all out there. And he's like, I don't get it. He's like, 54 holes isn't 72 holes. It's not what we used to do. A full schedule. Are you really that good at golf, or are you really going to say that you're one of the best in the world when you're not putting yourself up in a similar test? So what I'm intrigued by is, again, I don't think Liv might disappear. Who knows, but I think it's out there. You're an exhibition league. There's not a whole lot on the line. People don't stomach participation trophies. And so, and now granted, they're going to be in our backyard in a couple months, and I'd love to go see them. But then again, I'd go, I might go watch. Yeah, well, exactly. And I might go, I'd go watch anybody at a high level do anything. And that's the mentality I'm taking to it. Side by side, if there was that in a PGA Tour event going on at the same time and same access, I go to the tour event 20,
of course.
Yeah, 10 times out of 10. But this is all just kind of a roundabout way to say that you nailed it. The PGA is leaning into it. The RNA is leaning into it. This brotherhood. I love that that's the angle you saw, because I saw the same stuff, but I didn't think of it as like, hey, look, we can have fun. I saw it as like, look at this brotherhood, look at this tradition. Look at this
and I didn't mean that.
One and the same.
Like, I don't think they were manufacturing. I think they were just finally choosing to spotlight it. I think that's all that's been there. I think that's been there. And they're just choosing to shine the spotlight on it.
But that's beautiful because they nailed it, right? They hit their audiences. I'm the golf nerd geek who saw like them hugging it. I'm like, oh, look at that. That's so sweet. He used to idolize him, and they were junior partners together. You looked at it, you're like, this is dope. Look at these guys. Finally, cutting back a little bit, busting each other's chops, high-fiving, hugging, having a good time. Yeah,
because what was that tweet that the JT and was it JT and Spieth that put out about Fowler? That was fantastic. It was JT and Spieth who did that, right?
I don't know. No,
or was it JT and Rory? I forget who, but they like what was it? It's fantastic what Make a Wish does can do for Rory or something like. Just
Ricky,
what a jab,
Ricky Fowler, because Ricky's having a tough time getting his status back. And to that point, there were rumors floating around that maybe Ricky's going to jump ship, and I think Ricky was definitely offered. He's a brand, he's a draw, he's everything. He's right up Liv's alley. But I think he's going, I got some miles left. I can win. I still want to win a major, and I think that's the key, right?
He's Rory been close enough to where he has felt it to where that I don't think that because he hasn't gotten there and he wants to, and he's been close at times and he's just fallen off and he's back to chasing now. I think he's got that bug, that drive, that passion in him that he wouldn't walk away from the tour because it might to him feel like giving up.
Oh God! Well, he's got runner-ups everywhere. He was runner-up in 2014 to Rory, and so I don't think he's going anywhere. That was the funny jab. There was another one. There was another going around that it's actually a really sweet picture. And it's a picture of Tiger and the bear, and they're standing on the Selwick Bridge or Swellnick Bridge.
I saw that picture too. That was a pretty awesome picture.
Did you see that Tiger was stepping on Jack's foot?
Oh, I didn't see that. No, was he? I didn't look close enough for that.
And Tiger wears spikes. Like he's wearing real spikes, and you can absolutely see it. I mean, it's.
I'm gonna look at that again.
People are having fun with it. It's one of the great memes coming out of it. But I'm right there with you in the sense that it's just fun to watch these guys cut loose this week, have fun. Yes. Right before they tighten it up. I'll tell you right now, in a couple of hours, it'll be. Practice time, the countdown begins, the tee times are out. There's some really fun groups to watch. I'm excited to 100%. See Max Homa, Tiger Woods, and who's the third in that? Is it Matty Fitzpatrick? It might be, but
that's a fun group. Because like I said, Tiger's one of the guys that they were showing out there. He seems loose this week. Like everything I'm seeing with him, he's walking around. He's like he's moving good, but. So he's focused, but not in the way to where he's blocking everything out around him. He's in the moment there. He's enjoying it for what it is on a personal, fun enjoyment level, but he's also realizing like, hey, this could still be another big step for coming back for me. And he seems to have found that balance, which is really interesting to see.
And he said in one of his interviews, he knows that this is likely his last real shot at winning at St. Andrews. He's going to, he's got his exemptions and he's going to play in the Champions because they can play until they're 65. Yep. They're exempt, but he knows that it would be, God, I mean, leave it to Tiger to win at his age, at this place, in this time, in this moment, and but that's what legends do. I hate to be cheesy about it or cliche, but that's what they do. Real quick fun fact about the Open at St. Andrews. Obviously, it's hosted it more than anybody else. Prestwick is in second. I want to say, I don't know, somebody's in third at 16, but this is going to be its 30th time going there. And for a long time, it was right on the fives, or every 5 years. And so you go back before this, it was 2015, 2010, 5, 2000, 95, and you've got John Daly in 95, Tiger in 2000. So it's been, you've got big names through the years winning at St. Andrews. But when they were, but you were talking about Tiger being so hell-bent or being kind of, would you say, loose, having fun.
Like he's enjoying the moment.
I think it was funny. Somebody asked, "Is because are you going to retire?" And he said, "No, I'm not retiring.
I don't think that's what he's doing.
This is just it. This is my last kind of chance to really snag one more iconic moment that's outside of a traditional major, right?"
Like he's changing his expectations after this week. His expectations, what was it? The goalposts are going to be shifted a bit for him. Is what he sees the rest of his career.
I don't think the expectations change. I think every time he tees it up, he expects to win. But what you're saying is this is kind of the beginning of that new Tiger schedule of he is only going to play in the majors and maybe a half a dozen other tournaments throughout the year because that's all that he can, that's all his body can kind of handle right now. But he was putting on the putting green. He was messing with Rory. I saw a cool video.
That was one of the clips I was talking about. It was awesome.
Yeah, they're sitting there and they're busting each other's chops. He told JT, Justin Thomas, he's like, "Hey man, see you at the Champions dinner." And then he just paused and smiled at him. And it's like, oh, and it's a reminder, like cold blooded, dude. I mean, Mamba mentality for the good.
Every single one of them know what's at stake for themselves, but also for each other. and they have no problem of taking those those jabs at each other as friends, though. And like you said, as a brotherhood, it's what me and you, if we go out and tee it up, like we're gonna take jabs at each other, like if one of us hits a bad shot, like, they're gonna have fun with it, and that's what golf's awesome. And the fact that we get to see them enjoy it that way, the same way we all do, is just, I don't know. That's a cool aspect that I'm enjoying getting to see more of.
Real quick, I did tee it up last weekend. Shot 70 with 2 eagles, 4 birdies, and won $175 in the skins pool. It was a solid weekend for Boudreaux back on his home track. But speaking of tracks, Jack Nicklaus back in 2005. So back in 2000, when the Open was there, Jack made a comment. I think it was before the tournament. He made a comment that if this is going to be, he might walk away after this one. If this is going to be his last Open at St. Andrews, he wants to walk across the bridge, do his wave and everything. Sure. And he goes, when's the next time it's coming? He goes, 2006. And he said, that's too bad. I'll be 66 and I won't be, this is a true story. He said, I won't, I'll be 66 and I won't be exempt at that point. Yeah. And so they said, well, if we moved it back a year or moved it up a year, would you come? He said, for sure. So that's why they scheduled it in 2005 for St. Andrews. So Jack could be exempt, come there, do his wave goodbye and everything like that. Jack's also, that image of him, one of his images of him winning at St. Andrews is on the back of a 5-pound note. In 2005, the Royal Bank of Scotland issued, for the only third time in the history of the Royal Bank, they issued a civilian, especially an American, on the currency. I have one of those 5-pound notes framed in my office. Cool. It was a gift from my mom. It's just the whole week is going to be stories like this and things like that. Where the thing with the claret jug originally, it was the champion's belt. It was a red, looked like a WWE mini champion's belt, and the original is still on display at the R&A Clubhouse. Right next to the original claret jug, because the one that you see everybody handing around is actually a replica. There's 4 replicas. So there's layers to this, and I encourage everyone to geek out a little bit on it, whether or not you're a true golf nerd or even a fan of the sport. This is kind of one of those times. What are you going to do? Watch the baseball All-Star game? Come on. Yeah, you might watch the Home Run Derby Friday night, but that's all right because there's no open coverage there. But
I don't even watch that anymore.
This is it. I mean, and Jack said it in his autobiography too, and that kind of leads into what the keys are for playing at St. Andrews. And he talks about how every tournament is a putting contest to a degree, but that is it when it comes to Open Championship golf at St. Andrews. And he said 100%. He said that in his autobiography. That's the key to winning here. And so
why should we disagree? Who are we to disagree?
I don't disagree.
I'm not disagreeing.
It's funny.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, you go ahead.
Well, I was about to just keep going on the course there and try to steer us towards.
Perfect. Then you do that because I was going to steer us there. I was going to take a harder turn, but take your nice easy turn. Let's get there in a nice pace.
Well, looking at the old course, because realistic expectations, this could be one of those weeks that it is a pitch and putt fest. It could turn into Jordan Spieth said it. He's one of the favorites this week because of his wedge game. That he says if the weather cooperates, which it looks like it's going to, it's going to be overcast and just a little breezy. That's perfect for these guys. The course is nice and firm already. I saw pictures.
Have you seen the videos of guys putting from 80 yards out? It's ridiculous.
Bouncing balls off the fairway that bounce back up to your thigh and catching it. I mean, it's crazy. Dylan Dethier, great writer for golf. I think it was Golf Magazine or Golf Weekly, whatever. But anyways, great. I saw a tweet of him. He said, I just walked around and saw Tiger hitting 4 irons from 20 to 50 yards off the green on number 18, and the ball was never leaving the ground and getting within kick-in distance. I mean, these are the kind of shots they're going to have to play this week. And so, it's 7,300 yards. So on the card, nothing too overwhelming, but local knowledge is going to come into play. These hidden pot bunkers, hitting your spots. You can hit a crisp shot right down the middle. You catch the wrong little bump or bank. Next thing you know, you're having to pitch out sideways, and 5's a good score when 4's on the card. So it's going to take a creative player this week. I think, like we already said on the top, my key 3 begin with putting. I think that's actually I took my favorite, or I took the model. I sorted by putting one, and I said that's the one to start. And I layered in there double bogey avoidance, because you're gonna make bogeys. You're gonna hit it in the fescue, and you're gonna hit it into a pot bunker and have to pitch out. Bogeys.
So we were similar there. You went double bogey avoidance. I went 3 putt avoidance, but some could say that's going to lead to a similar result.
And then the third one for me was good drives gained, because fairway is almost irrelevant here. The whole freaking place. I mean, it's a cow pasture. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So it's either fairway or fescue. So the good drives gained stat being fairway or not. Did you get your second shot on the green or the fringe or in a position to score? So that's it for me. And so I wanted to put strokes gained ball striking in there, but at the same time, you don't have to strike the ball great if your short game's on point this week. You really can punch it around and then get up and down consistently. Some of the videos of Sevi and the shots that he used to pull off really make my touch. If you haven't done it, Google the Touch of Class video with Lee Trevino. The two of them are playing against one another head to head. Sevi's got this impossible downhill, side hill lie. He pures a 5-iron and immediately his competitors, his Touch of Class in that Mexican accent. And it's the most beautiful thing in the world. Sorry, back to you in the studio. So those are me. Those are me. Putting, double bogey. Good, you go.
So I was going to get into, I was going to follow the same path. So the key stats that I'm looking at, we're on the same path pretty much here. So we're probably going to get some good, similar results as far as guys we like. But so I did use strokes gained approach instead of ball striking. I did use strokes gained par 4. Like I said, I use 3-putt avoid. I do like the double bogey avoidance. So I might change that out. But like I said, I see them as very similar. Obviously, strokes gained putting. Strokes gained total as well. So I do think it's all going to be about how accurate you can be, and then how careful of a touch and how confident you can be with the flat stick is what it's going to be. Because these greens they go up and down. They're going to be going lightning fast.
There's 7 double greens. These things are gigantic. The rumor has it that's how they discovered the cholera pit is the burn pit of all the bodies is that old Tom Morris wanted the green bigger, make it bigger, bigger. And so when they were digging, they came up on the bones. And when they came up on the bones, they did what you do when you come up on a pile of bones. You just walk away and whistle and act like you didn't see them. I like what you said there about three putt avoidance being similar to double bogey avoidance, especially here, because as I alluded to earlier, you might be in a position where you're handcuffed and bogey becomes par. And if that's the case, then you can't 3-putt because that's when that 3-putt turns into a double bogey. And anytime you 3-putt, it's an unforced error. So I like that because double bogeys and 3-putts are both considered unforced errors where sometimes you have to swallow bogey. And it's like, that's going to be the good score because of, conditions or you get a bad bounce or whatever. So I do like that, that we're seeing eye to eye there. It's always nice to get along because I hate when you're wrong.
So what is a factor in? So I'm gonna make a point towards using your key stat instead of double bogey avoidance, which does come into play in this course. Is those pot style bunkers that they do have? The double bogey can play into how you are scrambling out of those as well, because guys are gonna hit these bunkers. They got steep faces in a lot of cases. So to be able to get out of them and still get in a place where you can avoid double bogey is going to be a factor for some of these guys.
And a big base. Steep faces in a lot of cases and a big base.
Did I just say that?
No, you said, yes, you did. It was beautiful, poetic even. But you said something that I noticed the gentlemen, ladies, and friends at Fantasy National. Shouts to our friends at Fantasy National for making us smarter.
Yes.
But when I was looking
at least making us sound smarter.
When I was looking at some of the research, the sand game came up a bunch.
Yes.
Your 3-putt stat came up a bunch, but sand game came up a bunch. And it's because, there's bunkers everywhere. You go to the St. Andrews or the Open Championship or the St. Andrews, the Old Course Wikipedia page, and it actually lists out every hole and like where the pot bunkers are. Some of them have names. Some of them have stories behind them. So speaking of stories, hold on a second.
So you didn't have your headphones plugged in yet, but I did say before we started the show that because
you're going to be ripping red wine out of a Magnum the whole time.
Well, because we're going to a fancy place, I got to be drinking a fancy drink. So we're going to drink the red wine, and I'm too lazy to go get a glass.
Are you referencing the Old Course at St. Andrews as a fancy place?
You
know what? Touche, because
as I joke.
It's you know what? The R&A is about as fancy and traditional and buttoned up. So I see where you're going. I'm not going to splice hairs because you are right that it doesn't get much more. And that's what I love that they told Greg Norman, like, sorry, dude.
Yeah.
Like deuces.
This isn't your place to come and do your, hey guys, I'm back. Like, no, not here. You want to do that at some, lower level event, then have at it. But you're not coming here. This is hollow ground.
I saw some. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the stereotypical 2020 qualifying. What should I say? Disclaimer that I do not condone violence nor stalking of any kind. But Patrick Reed showing up on the driving range with a Live Tour hat is the home of golf is just begging.
Yes,
begging for some hooligans,
just waiting for somebody. Not even hooligans, waiting for one of the other players to just turn on the driving range and just.
By the way,
line it right into his shin.
It's not going to be either of that. It's not going to be a hooligan. It's going to be some well-dressed gentleman from the RNA who just takes his cane and Nancy Kerrigan's Patrick Reed. So, but speaking of fine-dressed gentlemen, I saw Jack Nicklaus in a white tie with a red kind of cape cloth thing looking, and the man still had tears in his eyes earlier today. And if you missed it, it's another one of those things I'm going to ask you to go Google. And he joined the ranks of two other Americans to hold honorary citizenship, which I guess, I don't know if it's real or not, meaning like, are they actual citizens? But they are citizens now of the St. Andrews Royal Burgh, so to speak. And that's Ben Franklin, Bobby Jones, and Jack Nicklaus. And Jack even said that's why he came back this time. I mean, he was going to come back for the 150th. He didn't come back in 2015. He didn't come back in 2010. He said he didn't want to take the spotlight away from what the tournament is supposed to be. But when this request came, I mean, and he says he's been speechless twice. I'm getting choked up. I'm even wearing my Jack shirt. You have to, come on. I'm getting a little choked up. He's my childhood. That's who I was looking up to until I kind of bloomed both physically and metaphorically. And then I met Tiger, and it was downhill from there. But Jack said he was been speechless like twice in his life. It was the first time was when he won the first time at St. Andrews, and the second time was today at St. Andrews. And so it's a cool moment. And to put a quick coda on the top of the show so that we can transition to the bottom of the show and talk the real dirty details of DFS and open golf. That right there is the epitome of why the tour will live. Why guys like Jack and Arnie, when they did break away and they had a legitimate thing, it wasn't just the money. It wasn't about that. It was about, there was an actual distinction. I mean, it would be like NBA guys consistently playing against, I don't know what the right coaches. I mean, let's say like high school coaches, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about folks who know the game, get the game, and can convey the game versus masters of the craft. And those are two different schools. And so they wanted to create a place that also fed the PGA of America. The partnership there is strong. We talked about it a few shows back of the creation and how they did have to kind of stand their ground and break away and get some things going to do the deal. But context matters. And I got a good buddy of mine down in Gainesville, Florida. Shouts to Nick Matthews, and he's a sap. He's a real romantic at heart. But he's got a tattoo on his forearm, and it's been in his family for years. And it says, "All you have in this world is your name." Yeah. So that comes to mind when you start saying like, oh, we're going to grow the game, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. I mean, I'm still not kind of political about it, but I get and understand and can empathize with those who are saying, at the end of the day, I can't see past the source of the funding, or I can't see past the fact that these are participation trophies. So to see Jack wearing his white tie, his red kind of robe, grown ass man, 18 majors. And to think, and he even said it, he's like, I didn't think, I thought I'd done it all. Really thought that there was, it was his turn to start to continuously give back. And here, once again, the golf world comes in and says, not so fast. We got one more thing for you. So that's why this week's a little bit different. And your boy's doing it. I mean, I made myself tear up a little bit. I'm not ashamed to say that either. Why don't you?
That's all right. Hey, golf will do that to you. Golf will do that to you, and sports can do that to you. You just gotta appreciate it, which you obviously do when it comes to golf. So I applaud that. But yes, let's get into the nitty gritty of this week.
That's back at hard transition.
I don't do anything clean, man. I just go for it. Because I'm going to make it even a weirder transition. Before we get into the nitty gritty of this week, we do got to shout out Piper Golf as always.
Please,
Piper Golf, always taking care of us. Me, myself, owner of the Blue Balls. Bud here plays the gold. They come in handy. They treat us well, and we're proud to be affiliated with Piper Golf. And if you want to be have a piece of Piper Golf, you want to check out their apparel, their hats, their golf balls, go and take their quiz at piper.golf. And when you check out, use our discount code DIVPIV, that's DIVPIV, for 10% off of your order. Once again, DIVPIV, DIVPIV. And go take their quiz, check out their golf balls, because their golf balls, especially for the price, you're getting a hell of a bargain for how good those balls are compared to some other brands out there. So check it out, take their quiz, find out which ball is just right for you. And let's get into it, because, look, we got about a half hour left here on the show, and we need to start helping some people navigate their way through the Open Championship. And we stated it.
Truth gun to your head. Do you take Phil Mickelson this week? I forgot he was playing. I forgot that all he bailed out on was the ceremony and the dinners. So, okay, yes. Tip of the cap to Lefty.
My answer's still no.
God, no. I'm if he breaks par, I would take a bet with anybody in America right now. Quick leaderboard update.
No, you're not tracking very well on your bets. So as far as with me,
hey, I paid up on my Corey Connors, and you.
Oh no, I'm not saying you don't pay up. I'm just saying I keep winning.
Luke Donald didn't even make the cut last week. Jesus, man, so much for my, he's an Englishman kind of hoping.
And like I said, I wish I had the guts to play Jamie Donaldson.
Right, kid
in
went
my
on a
DK
run
lineup, because then I would have actually beat you in the DK points, and I know that's where you're about to go. So give us the breakdown. Bud did take me down in our DK lineups last week.
Week one of we're going to call this the bubble league, the bubble year league, whatever we're going with for our fantasy. You are up 1-0 on the side bets. You are one unit ahead. We'll figure out what this week's side bet is going to be as we get there, whether it's a head to head or.
It usually comes up pretty natural as we're in conversation. We just roll with something, and I love that.
And I have a sleeper in mind. I've already got a side story / sleeper in mind, and might drop that on you later. But I do hold a commanding 281 to 257 lead in the DK points. But then once again, that's the strokes. That's the stroke play side of the competition.
Yes.
And then on the match play side, you are one up, and we still have a handful of holes left to go. A lot of golf left to play. And this is it. This is what it all comes down to, is the 150th Open at St. Andrews. It could be a pitch and putt fest, which it sounds like it's going to be. So wedge players. I saw another local reporter. I say local reporter, golf reporter. When he got down, started tweeting from his cab, and he's like, "Listen, the cabbie's like Spieth, People, it's." I don't know. I saw Louis Oosthuizen at the Champions thing, and all of a sudden I was like, "Ooh, wait a minute! He's been putting his brains out the last couple of years. He's got some runners up." Then you remember Will Zalatoris is in town. This is a major, and
he always shows up at the majors.
He strangely, his putting yips come around on Sunday, of course, but he'll drain 110, 120 feet of putts on Thursday or Friday, and you're like, "Wait a minute, where'd this come from?" So. It's going to be a fun week. I do think that, or I do hope that the winner is not from Live. I think that would be horrible for the game.
That would be really bad.
Although it would be kind of funny in a dark way if you consider the women's champion at Wimbledon was a Russian who was actually playing under the Kazakhstan flag because Russians were banned. So it would be another one of those, like, are we really pushing the sand uphill? But let's get into it.
Yes, let's get into it.
Talk to me about who you like up top in this 10K and above range, or who did you just like out the gates? Who's your horse this week?
So look, I think so. Here's the thing: everybody seems to be on Xander, and I get it.
Right,
Xander's a great approach player, pretty solid putting, and he can handle the situation and the stars of this moment, but. Everybody's playing him. He's like around 17% projected ownership, and then most of that's because of his price. I think he's only 9,900 or something like that. Like, so it's very tempting. And look, when I put together my model, he does come out ranked first in my model, so I get it. But I think because of the ownership, I'm gonna have to back away from Xander, and instead, I want to double check the ownership here. See, so for me, JT is coming in around 14% ownership. He's 10,500, which isn't exactly a bargain by any means. But considering some of the guys around there, I'd be looking at either a JT or a John Rahm because their ownership is so low, at least out of the guys up top.
Just in the I know everything's relative when you talk about the 10K range.
But John Rahm coming in right now projected at under 10% ownership, right around 8.79%. So that then gives me, of course, then you start to second guess yourself. You go, well, wait a minute, what am I missing that everybody else is seeing? Because it doesn't make any sense why, a seasoned vet like John Rahm in a situation like this can't show up and show out.
You just nailed my thought. I was like, who knows about Jason Day's back? Who knows about John Rahm right now? Like, who knows something that we don't? Where that ownership, and that's why I'm not going to say be on that WD watch, but when you see something like that, maybe just especially because get these lineups in on Wednesday evening. Guys are teeing off first thing before you're getting up in the morning on Thursday. So
yeah, for real.
Just keep an eye on that into Wednesday. You might want to check anything that has John Rahm in it. That said, that caveat out there, I'm right there with you. If anything in the 10K range, everybody. So Xander checked the top of my model as well. He shook out as number one. And other than maybe, I don't know if superstition is the right word, or like you said, it's the ownership game that we're playing right here, is the only reason I would fade him and go with the John Rahm. I saw the same thing that you did. I saw John Rahm with yellow ownership, and I kind of had to do a double take. That's the DK side. Jordan Spieth to me still, I think, might be my guy this week. I'm not sleeping on Tiger. Only because this is not a hilly course. It's not going to be treacherous conditions.
You should be able to handle the walking of it. And it's barely over 7,200 yards, too. It's barely makes it into that realm. So not hilly and not long, necessarily.
Yeah, and I mean, I keep going back to is that, he's down in the 7K range, and we'll come back up top. But Jordan is where I'm going. He checks out. He's 71st in my model, but it's almost like it's one of those. Now you can throw out the record books when it comes to the majors. I mean, in a sense, you can for certain guys and styles of play. He's the Texas kid, low ball flight, shot maker, shaper. Him and Michael Greller just sit there and go back and forth. Michael tells him a lie. Jordan believes it and sticks at 6 feet. I mean, that's how their game works. That's how this is set up. I like JT this week, though, too, in the sense of I think there's a little extra motivation. He's on the outside looking in. He's got all his boys in there at the Champions Dinner. Mm-hmm. He knows he's got the game to win here. He played like dog shit at the Genesis, just like everybody else did. So I wouldn't fade him too hard. But John Rahm and Jordan Spieth. Jordan, because I think it's worth the chalk. He was runner-up last year to Colin Morikawa. He won a couple years ago. Again, I think he's in that era of his game or his career where he's going to contend at the next 10 Open Championships and the next 30 Masters. But John Rahm in that 10K range, he's probably going to show up in some of my lineups, and then I think Jordan's going to show up in my other league. Shouts to my other league. It's always a fun week when we have a major. Double the points. No big deal. 10K. You heard it here first. John Rahm is kind of the consensus, not favorite, because I don't blame anybody for playing Rory McIlroy. I think you're an idiot for spending $11,000 on a player to begin with. I mean, I don't think he's that much of a lock.
Well, no one ever is.
But Rory is playing really freaking good right now.
He is, because I think he feels like he's got the weight of the PGA on his shoulders, and he's carrying it. To all of his credit. Real fast on because you brought up Tiger Woods, and this just shocked me when I was looking there. So obviously we know the injury, he's getting back to it. If he is feeling good and he's able to get out there and walk and play, when it comes to correlating courses stylistically, so some other and conditions wise, so courses that tend to play firmer, about the same distance total, somewhat windy conditions, factors that we can pretty much say are going to be the case this week, that we can count on to draw some correlation. So such as your Bay Hills, your Eagle Points, Pebble Beach, PGA West, like some of these courses, TPC Sawgrass, these correlating courses in the last 24 rounds for Tiger Woods, in the field, he's ranked first in strokes gained total, first in strokes gained approach, 14th in three-putt avoidance, 14th in three-putt avoidance, sorry. First in strokes gained par 4 and 33rd in strokes gained putting. I was a little shocked at how well, even in the last 24 rounds, he was ranking out compared to the field in these correlating courses. Does this shock you? I mean, obviously his last 24 rounds just total in the past year or so, his stats are way off because he's been working himself back. But do we feel like maybe Tiger, because look, he's coming in around like 5-6% ownership. Do we feel like he might be able to get through enough of this tournament to put down some swings and make the cut?
I mean, I'd throw my side bet right there to say, like, yeah. I mean, if you want to say just if you feel like Tiger won't make the cut, I'd take that in a heartbeat.
I probably wouldn't bet that because I'm more so leaning that he's going to make the cut.
Yeah, I think he's going to make the cut. Not only do I think he's going to cut, I think he's going to be teeing off late on Sunday. I think he's going to be in position because, again, he's not everything he does is with intentionality. I hate that word. He does things strategically. He lives his life. Yes. He plays, practices everything that again, cliche-ish leads up to this moment. But nothing would surprise me with Tiger at an Open. I mean, one of his Opens, famously, one of the rounds that he never even touched anything over a 3-iron. He hit that stinger the whole time. And again, knowing he's out there, he says it's his favorite course in the world. He's a guy driven by history. This would be something that in golf, right? And I think he might be the first guy to win 3 times at St. Andrews since the olden days. So there's a lot going on there. I definitely think he's worth it if you've got 7,500 and, again, low ownership. What I love, though, or what the folks at Fantasy National said, which is take anything we have there and just go ahead and add 5 points to it, because that's what his ownership's that's what's going to happen. Sure. Everybody's going to,
but still, even if you get a Tiger who makes the cut at 10% ownership at that price, like that ain't, I never play Tiger in DFS. Never. I don't think I ever have, because he's always too popular. He's always too popular. I always feel too personally attached to his success to be able to separate the betting aspect of it and the just watching as a fan aspect. I don't like having to do that. So I tend to not play Tiger in DFS. If there was ever going to be a time I did play him, it would be this week because of the ownership, because of the circumstances for him. I'm tempted.
Oh, you want it, and we all want it.
We all want it, and I'm tempted to just ride that roller coaster all the way, and whatever happens on DK.
All right. Well, before we start riding your roller coaster of love, let's go back up to the 9th.
Yeah, we got to get back. Range. You mentioned Tiger. I want to make sure we touched on Tiger, because I'm sure people are.
Oh, don't worry. I'll
wanting to talk about Tiger. So.
Oh, Tiger. And then we're going to end the show with some Tim Tebow and maybe the Dallas Cowboys. All right, the 9K range.
Oh boy, we'll hit all the 9K range.
So, and here's the funny thing is Xander's in that 9K range.
Yep.
Right there. He does rank out top of all the models, for me anyways. But the one that I actually kind of like more, that my numbers match up with, again, if this does turn into a putting fest, because he rode a hot flat stick to the FedEx Cup a couple years ago, is Patrick Cantlay. Mm-hmm. And I know I didn't even look at his ownership.
I'm looking right now. He's projected around 12%.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm okay with that.
Zalatoris.
Because it is a major. We've talked about this before. There's not a whole lot of value in trying to top load, your lineup and trying to grab 3 studs. Because it's a major. I mean, the fact that folks are there, you've got the game. And I mean, unless you're throwing some money on like John Daly, in which case, have at it. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked. Listen, the stories about John Daly are such that I wouldn't be shocked if he makes the cut. Now, anything beyond that, no. But I mean, even I don't. Like, do you think Dustin Johnson? I'm very curious to see what happens. I want to see where his mental game's at, because he's got a couple live events. He has been away from his bros and everything. Yeah, he got to the U.S. Open, whatever. But now that some of the dust is settling, and now that some people are starting to play their cards, I doubt he's got any regrets, because he probably got a lot of that 125 or whatever million that they were giving him either upfront or guaranteed. It's held in escrow somewhere. Who the hell knows what? But is that going to affect his play? I mean, when when there are no stakes, he's won a major. He's won a couple majors. He's lifetime at Augusta, the whole bit, which I got a feeling all Augusta's going to say is, yeah, we are going to keep our current entry requirements, which is a wink, wink, nod to anybody saying like, yeah, DJ, you're welcome to come back. Phil, you're welcome to come back. Anybody else? Good luck. Like,
yep.
Come back. So I'd fade him this week. I know it's a major and everything, but Shane Lowry and Patrick Cantlay are the two guys who I'd kind of, Shane Lowry, former champion, Lynx Golf, obviously, I don't want to miss country him, yes. But he's definitely a Ryder Cupper, and he's not on our side. Let's put it that way. So he's got the game for it. So Shane Lowry, Patrick Cantlay, those are the guys that I'm looking for in the 9K.
Shane Lowry's Irish, in case that's what you're trying to figure out.
Thank you. I couldn't remember if he was Irish or Northern Irish.
He's Irish.
There's a difference.
Well, I know there's a difference, but I'm pretty well now. You make
definitely
me second guess myself now, but I'm the one who opened my mouth. I'm pretty sure he's. Now you got me second guessing.
No, I'm pretty sure he is definitely Irish. Rory is from Northern Ireland.
Yes, I think
And Rory can choose whether he wants to play for England or Ireland in the Olympics whenever he goes. Yeah, it's
kind of a Shane Lowry has the Irish flag next to him. I'm pretty sure. I'm not looking at it right now, but I'm almost guaranteed. Like yes.
Does he have your flag next to him?
No. So where I'm going, I am going to Will Zalatoris here in the 9K range. It's like you said at the beginning. It's a major. His putting scares me a little bit. I know we're pushing putting here, but everything else about him lines up. What were you gonna say?
Oh, no, my apologies. I was saying mea culpa because I thought I said that. I thought I said that at the I did. Like
you did.
He's my always bet on Brooks. I already have him penciled into my lineup. Period.
So here's where I'm going with the 9K range. I see the 9K range being quite popular.
Juicy.
It's in these majors, the 9K range tends to be more popular because a lot of people will try to play two of these guys to get more guys in the 7K range down. And there's a larger field of players, not golfers, but a larger field of players on DraftKings playing. So this 9K range becomes popular. So the guys I'm always looking to play in the 9K range in the majors are strictly ownership based that have a high upside, like Will Zalatoris. So like I said, he kills it in all the rankings other than putting. I know putting's important this week, but like we've said, when it comes to majors, he's the kind of guy that can turn it on for a major. Somebody else who can do that, who's ranking out nicely other than in the putting, who's had a good year, is Hideki Matsuyama. He's taken some time out. He's only played like 2 tournaments out of the last 5 or so. So he's been kind of stepping back a little bit, but I think he's here to play this week and bring his best game. And I don't mind a little Matsuyama play as far as the 9K range. So I think I'm going to go more ownership based in 9K and play Willie Z and Hideki.
I see your Willie Z, and I like that. I've always enjoyed looking at your Willie Z. But Hideki might have a touch of the Jason Day. He might be on the Rom watch too. He's a
very risky play.
I don't think it's risky if he's playing. That's my point. Is just be on that Wednesday night. Yes. Check the Twitter sphere, check the WDs, and make sure he's alive because I like you in the Willie Z, and I didn't even think about his ownership because, like I said, he's replaced Brooks in my brain for
he's under 10%. Both Hideki and Willie Z under 10%. Right as of right now, could change.
I like that 8K now.
Yep.
Right now, you go with your 8K, and then I got.
So the main guy like in 8K right now is I'm liking me some Tyrrell Hatton. He ranks out. He's had a good enough year, but he crushes it on correlated courses for me. And he's a good enough putter in both aspects to where I think Tyrrell Hatton can show up and show out this week. And I believe his ownership was also it was around 8-9% projected ownership right now. So yes, you can, as Fantasy National says, you can probably add 3% or 5% on top of the ownerships to get a more accurate, safer idea. But still, if I can get him under 12% ownership, I wouldn't mind Tyrrell Hatton at 8,700. And then somebody else who also can show up in these majors and courses like this would be Sungjae Im as well.
I like Sungjae Im. Tony Finau is getting a lot of love this week, and I could see him doing well if he's putting well, because he's a bomber, but he's also a guy who can hit those little low, like he can flight the ball and hit it a mile on the ground. And so if he's finding his lines and he's seeing it right, he can push it around there. I'm not going to put any love there just because of the spotlight put on him. I like your Terrell Hatton. He's top 5 in putting. And he's a head case, but that's just how he exercises his demons on the course. But I'm going right above and right below him with my attention, and Tommy Fleetwood and Louis Oosthuizen. Okay. And let me tell you why. So first of all, Louis being, again, I said it earlier, and it was that's what they call foreshadowing in literature, is when you to say something and then you're going to.
Yes, you nailed it.
So anyways, Louis has been he's a better putter now than he was in 2010 when he won here. And so, past champion, his ownership right now is at 8%, 9%, which shocks me, because he's also a he's a top 10 machine when it comes to majors. So I like me some Louis in the 8K range. And I also like me some Tommy Fleetwood, really just because I think the ownership is going to be okay. I think he's in single digits as well. I think he's around 8 or 9%. And obviously familiar with that course, and he checks the boxes on the skill set. So he ranks out, I think, 24th in my model. So that's enough for me. If you're top 25, and you're not too chalky in a model, you're worth giving it a shot. I hope Brooks shoots 85 and goes home to his beautiful wife. Corey Connors got slapped around by the conditions last week. And I think it's this might be, I'm going to have fun watching him, but I don't know if ball striking is going to work alone here. You got to be able to shape and be creative. So, and then let's go 7K.
Yeah, we got to go a little rapid fire here as we're up against it here, as they would say. So yeah, 7K. Hit me with some 7K guys.
Well, I told you earlier, and it still rings true. I like Tiger. I like Tiger this week. I think if you've got room in your heart for it, take a shot. Christian
you nailed it. That's exactly who I was going to go at here. So we're in agreement there.
He's on a little bit of a hot streak. He fell off for me last week, but and JT Poston, just because, again, current form, motivation.
You're jumping on all my plays.
Well, you get a win under your belt, and the math checks out, but you get a win under your belt. And I got one more for you, the 6K, but you get a win under your belt. And that's the recipe for I'm good enough to be out here and do this. And then the last one, my kind of sleeper for the week, is Keith Mitchell at 6,900. And let me tell you why.
I can't after last week. I can't.
I know you can't, but
I just can't.
So it's so actually, you know what? Talk to me about 7K real quick.
There's 7K. You literally said all the guys I was going to talk about. We're in 100% agreement in the 7K range. It's for me. It was Zudenhout. It was Woods. It was Poston. Like, those are literally the guys I was going to bring up. They are all in my lineup right now that I just quickly put together. I don't want to say quickly, but the lineup that I just made sure worked mathematically on DraftKings. They're there for me. Woods, Poston, and Zudenhout. Did I say that name right for once? It sounds like
Zadenho, Bazudno. You might have gotten it right. I don't know.
I don't know.
All I know is I turn around. He's either dunking chip shots or draining birdies. He's a streaky
fantastic putter.
It's phenomenal. So I'm going to tell you why Keith Mitchell. So Keith Mitchell is my sentimental bulldog of the week because he qualified, through his performance at the RBC. That was the last step to kind of get him in. And in his post round interview, he kind of shared why it's a little extra special. His sister went to the University of St. Andrews right there next to the course, obviously. Yep. And to take it one step further, his dad's a member of the RNA. So this has been a lifelong dream for his family, for him to go out there. And again, I'm a fate. I want the story. I want the stars.
If you're listening, if you're watching, you know what he's going to say. What's the most important key stat in Bud's world?
Strokes gained home life. You gotta believe in it, and you gotta think that little things like that are what the difference makers for these guys and girls out there on the course when they tee it up, because they're all so freaking good. We're talking millimeters. You hear them talking about
the edge that you might need.
I heard somebody explain, why Tiger uses the spinniest ball on tour, and this week's going to be one of the weeks where it's on display, and it's because it's easier to take spin off a ball. You cannot add spin to a golf ball. A golf ball is going to max out on spin when you hit it, and that's that. You can kind of take your shot and edge. There's a whole science behind it, but this is one of those weeks where they're talking about. You got to make sure that you can spin it this way, spin it that way, because when it hits coming down at the right angle, it's going to bump left and roll right. And then after that, God knows what's going to happen to it.
It's going to keep rolling and rolling and rolling.
If you get into a Limp Bizkit song right there, I was going to walk off the set. So,
I didn't even think about doing that. I should have. It would have been perfect.
So I can't put you on the spot. If we figure out a side bet in time. Well, I was going to put you on the spot on the Keith Mitchell.
We agree. Look, we agree. We'll come up with something, but we agreed too much this episode. It must have been extremely boring for you to listen to. But I'm kidding. But we agreed a lot on this episode, which I think should give people some good confidence with our picks here. But we'll come up with something fun.
Well, listen, have fun this week, my man. We may or may not see you on Sunday. Yes. You'll definitely see us online, whether that is visually, audibly, or Twitterally. We'll see you out there. Get your lineups in early. Do not sleep on those 7K guys this week. It is a major, which means the talent is up and down the line. And when in doubt, find out what the caddies and the cabbies are saying over there. Find out what the caddies and the cabbies are saying, and that's who you put your money on. Back to you in the studio, Andrew.
Yeah, no, you nailed it. And that, like you said, we might go live for you for a special watch show on Sunday. We're going to figure out timing wise. So just keep an eye out on Twitter for some updates and posts from us. Eyes and ears. Yes, as you point to your ears as well. Keep a lookout for that. We'll let you know if we're going to be doing that on Sunday afternoon to kind of catch the final groupings, go out there and see who takes this championship down. And as always, we're live here Tuesday night, so we're always going to be live Tuesday at 8 o'clock here on YouTube. There's going to be some changes coming out. There's going to be an announcement coming out as far as the structure of where you can find our shows. So also keep an eye out for that on Twitter this week. It should be out in the next couple days, maybe even tomorrow. But either way, you're always going to be able to find us right here at YouTube. And if you search bellyup.tv, that will be the new kind of main link. You go there, you're always going to be able to find us as well. Sponsored by Belly Up Media, as always, produced and operated by. So they are the fantastic sports group here that allows this all to happen. And as always, shout out to Piper Golf, In the Clutch Apparel, and Fantasy National Golf Club. All of you guys make this show possible for us, so we are forever thankful. You can find me at Real Mr. Mal. You can find Bud at This Bud's For You. And, of course, you can find the show at Divots and Pivots. Make sure you find us on TikTok, on Facebook, on Twitter. I don't think we have an Instagram at the moment, but maybe soon. So find us where you find us. Watch us on Wednesdays. Well, I'm just kind of rambling now. I don't know what the hell I'm doing now, but this is fun. Work and watch Wednesdays as always, 10 a.m. We're still going to be putting it out there, so check back in with us. If you didn't catch the whole show, you can catch the rest of the show 10 a.m. Wednesday morning. We loved having you guys here. Enjoy the Open Championship, and we'll see you next week.